We have a new moon in Libra. It's a very intense time. We're really balancing things right now. And Libra mistakenly doesn't mean that there is always harmony and balance. It means that we need to harmonize. We need to balance. Things are getting out of balance, out of hand. And this is really what Libra is teaching us right now. So we have a new moon in Libra. We have some other intense aspects. And we also have really incredibly strong solar flares, especially in the last week. All of this is very demanding. And in a moment, I'll share and explain more about the chart and the astrological sides of it. But first, I want to welcome you and say thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back. This is the Web of Wonder. My name is Jennifer Irene, and I'm here to help you explore the cosmos, to understand yourself better, to help you make sense of what's going on so you can find more compassion for yourself and for others. Especially at this time of this new moon, compassion is key. It's amazing that you're here. You're willing to learn about astrology. You're willing to look outside of yourself to understand yourself better and to really reflect about what's going on right now so that you can be a more empathic, understanding, and aware human being. Wow, you can be proud of that. So what are we experiencing with this new moon? The aspects are, we have a new moon, which means the sun and the moon are together and they're in the sign of Libra. We also have Venus that just entered Libra in 9 degrees. And we have an opposition from sun and moon, which are in 28 degrees. We have an opposition to Chiron in 24 degrees of Aries, and a square from both of those aspects to Jupiter in 24 degrees of Cancer as well. So this is already showing us that a lot of this intensity is connected with really personal inner wounds. It's bringing us into states of the self and examining ourselves and our identities, with Chiron being in Aries. How we view ourselves as strong. Like, it's also this like warrior kind of energy, this leadership quality, this vitality. So these are all of the areas where you might feel that you are not strong enough, not healthy enough, where you might feel that you're not good enough. And basically all of those fears, all of those wounds, coming from childhood topics, coming from whatever has happened in the last years or throughout your whole life to you, it's kind of, these wounds, they might have healed, there may have been some layers covering it up, but right now it's something really surfacing, and it's very obvious how this is affecting your ability to relate, to communicate to the world, to relate to other people, and to really create long-lasting, stable experiences of more harmony, more health in your life, also physical health, but also healthy exchanges and healthy interactions. With this square to Jupiter in Cancer, this is affecting your heart and your sense of safety, but it's also this desire to expand your heart, to expand your sense of safety, that is the driving force, because a square is always really activating a lot of energy we can use to move things. So this is pushing for movement, pushing for growth, pushing for expansion in the area of your safety, your heart, your capacity to love and be compassionate. And you got to be more honest and real with how are you being compassionate towards yourself, and how are you extending that to others? Are you giving other people the same amount of compassion you give yourself? And that can go both ways. So either you're not giving yourself enough compassion while you're constantly being compassionate towards other people. It might also be the other way around, where you're not giving other people compassion and understanding, but yourself, you're able to justify a lot of your actions and your choices. So it's time to check in, to harmonize, to balance. How are you feeling? How are you really understanding from your heart what is going on in someone else's life? And of course, this extends from the personal into the social realm, into the collective, into the political, Also, how are we extending those feelings that we have for ourselves, for our own communities, our own countries, our own identities? How are we extending those rights and those feelings of love and compassion towards other people who are living somewhere else, who are maybe having different beliefs, different customs, different experiences. And are we holding everyone to the same standards, but also with the understanding of individual needs, of individual context? So a standard might not have exactly the same outcome. Holding everyone to a same standard doesn't mean everyone is going to live the same life. And I think that's a common misconception we have with the idea around justice and equality, right? Giving everyone equal opportunities doesn't mean everyone is going to end up doing the same thing. And treating everyone fairly also doesn't mean that everyone will get the same amount. It means that we consider context, history, needs, and a lot of other factors. So this is a time where, we're really challenged to examine our own patterns, our own beliefs, and it might feel uncomfortable because you know what? Here's another aspect. We have Mercury and Mars conjunct in 20 degrees exactly, both together, in the sign of Scorpio. Lilith is also there in Scorpio in 23 degrees, and that aspect is making a big triangle to Saturn and Jupiter, also in water signs, so Pisces and Cancer. And with Mars and Mercury in Scorpio, we're bringing up a lot of uncomfortable topics. Scorpio is a powerful energy that is allowing us to alchemize, allowing us to transform, transmute. Think Phoenix rebirth, it's from the scorpion to the eagle, the higher perspective, all the way towards the phoenix, where something is completely dying, burning away, but being reborn from a new state of consciousness. But Scorpio isn't comfortable. Scorpio is intense. Scorpio can be manipulative. Scorpio can be wanting power, wanting control, really fighting for not giving up control. So with Mars and Mercury there, this is a moment of confrontation. This is a moment where things are being spoken out. It's not just the truth that we're seeing, it's like the truth that we're talking about. We're able to have maybe uncomfortable conversations with someone else. Maybe you're also able to read and inform yourself about a topic that has been uncomfortable before. Maybe you're even willing and interested to finally look behind the scenes of something that you just didn't want to deal with or didn't have capacity to deal with. And now is a moment where you're like, okay, I'm not just going to read the news headlines anymore. I'm going to dive a bit deeper. I'm going to maybe read some books about the topic. I'm maybe going to have different conversations about the topic. Or where you're like, it's not enough for me to just journal about this anymore. I'm going to go and I'm going to tell the person. I'm going to ask. I'm going to do the uncomfortable thing. But it's all for the sake of that trine activating our discipline, our spiritual discipline. If that action is aligned with what you believe is supporting you to foster compassion and empathy, then it will have the outcome. And you'll be able to use that to check in with where's the action coming from? Where are the words coming from? Trying to expand them through empathy, trying to expand them through understanding, and trying to speak from your heart. So it's a very intense time, of course, because Lilith is also there in the conjunction. And Lilith is very confrontational. It's an energy that's has been repressed, has been misunderstood, has been abused as well. So a lot of these things might also be surfacing. And again, the main topic, this new moon, reminding us, how am I and my fears and my identity and my personal issues, how are they kind of causing conflict with how I engage with the world, how I relate to others, and how I find positions of justice and fairness and equality and harmony? How is it standing in the way of my health? So those things that have been repressed, that have been abused, they're going to be topics of conversation. And what I'm personally experiencing a lot right now is a rising again of the topic of how has the idea of particularly women, because this is something that affects me. I'm a woman, so this is something that affects me and my personal identity. This topic might not be so strong for you right now, but It might be collectively for sure. Anyways, in my personal life, this is a very strong topic. How is my being a woman affecting my emotional experience, my physical experience in the world, and diving deeper into the archetypal exploration? Because Scorpio is not only interested in like what is the physical experience, but what is the emotional and spiritual experience behind that creates the physical outcomes, that leads to the physical stuff happening, which is Taurus, right? But Scorpio, we're asking about the energetics, the emotions, the spiritual side. So what are the beliefs we have about women? How have they been cultivated throughout decades, centuries, millennia, in order to create scenarios and outcomes that I've experienced as a woman, that many other women have experienced, of abuse, of violence, of different topics connected to justice, right? Libra, Venus, really justice oriented, harmony. And understanding how does that still impact my way of relating. But also, how can this understanding support a kind of collective understanding? How can my understanding be of value for a collective process? And now this is where we have another interesting connection here. So the Sabian symbol for where we have this new moon is in the 29th degree of Libra. And in the book, it reads that this is humankind's vast and enduring effort to reach for knowledge, transferable from generation to generation. And it talks about the deep sense of participation and commitment to social processes that seek to bring all humans truth and a greater life. And the book explains that what is meant here is really the topic of conscious participation and understanding that there is knowledge and awareness that once we have it, we transfer it to generations, to people who aren't even born yet. That knowledge is transferred. It's becoming the foundation of life that they enter, not only physical life, but also the consciousness that is collectively shared. And how important it is to address these topics inside of our consciousness so that we can actually physically integrate all of these changes, all of these awarenesses. So topics that may have not been fully understood yet are going to surface right now. And it's interesting because the topic of conscious participation, right now the moon, the sun, is exactly in that degree. We're really understanding that from an emotional, intuitive perspective, from a logical, rational perspective, and the Sabian symbol for where Mars and Mercury are conjunct in Scorpio is similar, yet a little bit different. That symbol reads, obeying his conscience, a soldier resists orders. And that symbol actually talks about the readiness to experience results and consequences, because the awareness of inner spiritual freedom is so high that there's an understanding that I can and must resist. I must resist orders. I must resist authoritarian orders in times in order to maintain an inner spiritual freedom and the willingness to endure the consequences. Even if there is a physical consequence to that, there's a cultivation and a sense and an understanding of inner freedom, of true willpower and compliance. And I think that's very, very interesting, especially, of course, with all the political things going on, right? The topics of war and, different... The question also of how do we really end a war? How do we really end violence that is so strong, causing so much trauma that consistently for generations and generations, each of the affected peoples from different sides and viewpoints are so traumatized that they're willing to keep continuing a cycle of violence. So how can we cultivate a sense of inner freedom to truly understand that we do not need this, that we actually can resist this violence, that we can simply choose to not do it? But that needs to really be such an inner understanding for that to ripple out through actions. And it needs to be a collective inner understanding, because if only one person does it, but then the other person keeps attacking, of course, that's not a real solution. The real solution is that collectively it needs to be understood. Collectively, generationally, it needs to be understood. Like everyone, we all need to understand this right now. And yeah, while we also take actions to support political outcomes, we also practice this in our personal daily lives. So where are the moments in your life where you keep picking a fight, maybe from your own trauma, and are you willing, and what do you need in order to understand your inner freedom, be able to resist this part of you that keeps commanding you to respond in violence? That's maybe an interesting question for this time. And so bringing that back also to the topic of health, the topic of healing your emotions, which is totally connected with all of the Scorpio energy, we're also really understanding and analyzing right now, how is all of my emotional stuff actually connected to my physical experience, including your health, including your levels of stress. Why do I keep ending up in situations where I feel burnt out or stressed, or I have these chronic health issues? And what is actually underlying all of those processes? What is the emotion there that my soul is experiencing that is leading me to take certain actions? And how can I regain a sense of inner peace and freedom again, where I can actually feel empowered to simply resist the stress, to resist the fear of judgment, to resist the social consequences of staying true to my authentic needs right now, without the fear that my own trauma will be relived, but also with an acceptance that if there are uncomfortable consequences, I'm willing to simply endure them because I know how important this is, and because it's actually making me feel more free being true to myself in this way. The topic of health and healing is a really, really big topic still. It's so present in my life that I'm also dedicating several workshops to this topic of health and really how to heal yourself, how to support your own healing powers. If you're interested in learning more about this, I'm giving an entire 6-week journey that is a guided process. It's following a very specific protocol where each week there's a different topic that we're going to be going through, different layers of emotions and connections to the body, to health, so that we're going to have a better understanding of what each body area symbolizes and what is the purpose and function of those areas. What are the underlying emotions? Yeah, what is connected with your childhood topics? What is connected with your own inner blockages, your fears, and where are you resisting the changes necessary to actually enable you healing? And so that you don't have to do this alone, we're going to go through this together in a small group so that it stays very intimate. And for 6 weeks, we're going to commit ourselves to supporting our own healing. And this is a very, very empowering process. There's a lot of knowledge that you'll be receiving, but there's also practical tools that we're going to be applying throughout the whole time. And of course, there's also the opportunity to receive direct guidance from me one-on-one about your personal topics, as well as guidance from the group, because sharing and being in this community process with our topics can also be an incredibly important part of the healing, actually. So I invite you to check it out if you're interested. The links are below. You can read more about it, and then you can fill out a form to apply. We're going to begin together in the middle of November, and this is really my heart passion topic right now. So I'd be super happy to meet you there and to support your health. It's really aligned also with the energy right now because, of course, throughout November, the sun is going to be traveling through Scorpio. So we're going to be having a lot of powerful insights, powerful realizations to really dive deep into the emotional undercurrents of your topics. You can use the power of the universe supporting exactly this process right now. And yeah, another really important topic that I find is communicated through these aspects right now with the Scorpio energy, with Mars and Mercury in conjunction, and Lilith, and the whole big water trine to Saturn, to Jupiter, and we also kind of have the North Node there as well. It's a bit wide, but it's there. This is a topic of sexuality as well. Yeah. Sexual energy is the life energy that flows, that literally enables you to be born. It's sex. It's sexual energy that allows the human spark, the spark of consciousness, to enter the body and to begin a process of growth. And so this is exactly also what we are being invited strongly to understand and reflect about. How is that affecting our relations? How is our sexuality affecting how we treat each other in society? How is our sexuality and our sexual experiences affecting how we behave towards other men, women, all genders? How is our sexuality enabling us to see each other, to experience each other? How is the personal wound, how is your fear, your trauma affecting your sexual experience, and maybe also your choices and what you're doing with that sexual energy and how you are using it? And to remember perhaps that sexual energy, well, what is it? What can it be used for? It's a creative energy. It can be used also for creativity, to strengthen your vitality, to empower your creative processes, to support you in channeling your projects, your life ideas, your visions. It's also a healing energy, right? It can be used for healing, to empower the energy, to move it through the body, to access hidden and repressed emotions, to move them, because it is an energy of movement. And so how is that energy actually being used? Are we actually using it for healing? I think with Libra, with Venus in Libra, and Venus ruling also over this new moon, we're also asking ourselves, hey, is this fair? Is this justice? Is this doing justice to yourself? How you're using your sexual energy? Are you using it for healing? Are we societally using it for healing? How are we treating people? How is sex enabling us to help each other heal? And how are we not healing? Are we repressing our energy? Are you repressing your energy, your creativity, and your life force so much that you become unhealthy? And an important side note here, because it keeps coming up in the last weeks, the gene keys. If you've never heard of it, research it. It's a really, really interesting concept. The 64 gene keys connected to the ancient wisdom of the I Ching, and translated into, this understanding of the 64 elements of you. Each person has a unique gene key profile. And one specific gene key is called the radiance gene key. Radiance. And that gene key is set to encapsulate what you need in order to be healthy. And it has nothing to do with what diet you are on and how many times per week you exercise. It really tells you what is a core emotional need that your soul has, that if you are not living life in that way, if you're not integrating that need into your life experience, you might lack a sense of vitality. You might feel less healthy, less vital than if you were to regularly integrate that aspect of you and give it a really important position and allow it to be there and give it time and give it to space to be expressed, because you actually need that for your own energy to be recycled properly, to flow, and you need that to really be healthy. So that's a very, very interesting aspect. I encourage you to look up your gene key profile and look at what does your radiance gene key say, and think about, are you doing enough of that? Or could you be doing more of that in order to maybe feel better? And that's also an important note here, is that all of this is an invitation to feel better, right? We sometimes feel stressed and angry at life when we feel like we're being pushed to change and forced to change and analyze and move out of our comfort zone and be courageous and confront our fears. And it's not punishment, it's so that we can be more free, so that things can be released, so that things can be in movement again. And the goal is to be more healthy, to be more vital, to be more healed, to be more compassionate, to feel more love. That is the goal. So remember, when you're frustrated about going through a process of growth and development, remember that what's waiting for you is feeling better. Feeling better. And sometimes things need to be released in order for that feeling better to really be felt. So back to the topic of sexuality, I think it's really important that we also ask ourselves, how has sexuality been used and how is it still being used to actually foster things that are not in alignment with our values at all, neither collectively nor individually? How has that sexuality been manipulated? How has our idea of sexuality that precedes the acting out of it, how has that been manipulated and distorted from a place of trauma, from a place of wounding? How have we began using sexuality to not heal anymore, but actually to inflict violence on each other? How are the practices that we choose to engage in maybe inflicting violence? And how could something else restore peace, restore balance, restore healing? And I think it's not enough in this case to only look at our personal experience, because we are influenced very heavily by collective consciousness. And also the topic of sexuality is not something that has changed within a year or two, but within centuries. And over time, things have really become more normal, more accepted, and these are longer processes, they're collective processes. We also have a kind of a broad square from the new moon to Pluto. Pluto's not in Capricorn, but it's already in Aquarius, but technically it's still a square by the number of degrees. And this is again reminding us that this is touching really collective ideas and processes and identities and thoughts. Thought structures, thought systems. So where did we begin with these beliefs about sexuality? Maybe going back all the way into the archetypal understanding of sex, the archetypal understanding of genders, the archetypal understanding of what we are teaching and learning and then reproducing. And really, really beginning to question these things. It should feel uncomfortable if you are touching something that is hidden, right? That's out of the comfort zone. If we just stay in the comfort zone, we might not experience actual development. So going to those places where, there may be a confrontation or there may be a learning about something that feels very heavy, very uncomfortable, but that is reality, that is the truth. And no longer looking away from those experiences, but actually just accepting that they are there, and then asking yourself, well, how can I practice my inner freedom? And how can I use the same energy and actually use it for a healing purpose? How can I help to restore balance? How can I help to restore justice and equality for myself, for my community, for my lovers, and for this planet, for my home? This planet is your home. Your body is your home, but also your soul, your mind. Your mind is your home. Your heart, your gut is your home. All of these homes are asking for some balancing. And the topic of sexuality is a heavy one. It's a heavy one because it's also a war strategy, and it's being used all over the world to regularly inflict violence. A lot of sexuality is being used to inflict violence through war directly, through personal wars between people, between partners. And I think this is a very strong archetypal collective consciousness topic in this moment. I'm reading a really interesting book about it. I forgot the author's name, but I'll link it down below for anyone who's interested. It's very heavy to read. It's very, very challenging, very difficult. It's very graphic, and it's addressing the image of specifically women in pornography. And it's from like 1970, and already in written pornography, before video pornography began, already written, the image of women has the archetype of the woman, of the mother, of the feminine spirit has been put into a certain archetypal consciousness that leads to unconscious desire of wanting to inflict violence upon it. And it's a very interesting how that is explained with many, many examples. So if you want to go dive into those types of things, I'll share the book title. And yeah, this is very important for my personal process right now. Yeah, and you might have a little bit of a different personal process right now. You have your individual chart, you have your individual experience, also you have your collective experience from where you were born, from where you grew up, from how was your upbringing, and where are you in life right now. So think about everything that I'm saying through your personal lens as well as exploring collective themes. And let me know in the comments, like, what is the main topic for you right now? What is important for other people to know? What is your main understanding? And where's the area that is a bit uncomfortable right now, but that you feel like, wow, this is actually so important for growth and development and healing and everything, but it's uncomfortable, but I'm moving through it. What is that? I'd be super curious to hear from you. I feel that one of the most important takeaways, one of the most important things to do with this new moon is to have conversations, to talk about things, reflect about things, learn new things, really going into exchanges and being open to hearing someone else's side, someone else's viewpoint, not running away from the conflict, but simply being there, extending compassion to the other person, the same way that you would want compassion for yourself. And also doing that for yourself, to yourself. Extending that you're part of the equation. You also deserve compassion. You also deserve compassion. Sometimes we forget that. So I'm here to remind you, you deserve compassion as well. Give it to yourself too. Also, as well. And doing that doesn't take away compassion from anybody else. Give it to yourself and also give it to anyone else. We're really moving a lot of topics right now, a lot of energy, and we're really on a path to try and restore more balance. Of course, these are cycles. We're going to go through many more cycles of these topics. And for now, take care of yourself, perhaps in a new way. And perhaps you can also take care of others in new ways as well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you again in some of the next videos. If you want to stay updated to my posts, of course, you can subscribe to the channel. If you want to support a friend, a loved one right now during these times, you can also send them this video or share with them the information about the 6-week healing journey that I'm about to embark on with several of you. And if you would like individual support from me, you can reach me via my website for a one-on-one session as well. I'm so grateful you're here, and I'm really grateful that I'm here showing myself to you, that we're in conversation, and lots of love from my side to wherever you are. I'll see you soon.